New York's big cover-up, the whitewash and the hiding of public records, the refusal to obey open records laws, hiding the dirt, covering up the skullduggery. It goes a lot deeper than Andrew Cuomo. It goes a lot deeper than the New York State Health Department. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a scenario in New York involving gargantuan amounts of raw human sewage being dumped all over the state. And then, of course, the state environmental conservation department using dams and other hydro control facilities to flush all this sewage and industrial wastes down public waterways into the Bay of Fundy via the St. Lawrence River. The Hudson River is nothing but a giant open sewer. The Champlain-Hudson Canal and the Lock system. The Glens Falls Feeder Canal. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, Lake Champlain, the Lachute River, the Poop Chute River is a massive sewage flusher. The dam system on the Great Lakes for flushing sewage, like flushing toilets. Folks, you've got this giant cover-up in New York associated with huge numbers of deaths from infectious viruses and bacteria and chemicals. Look at the cancer study, the massive, unbelievable cancer numbers in Warren County, New York. This is all connected to Cuomo's COVID cover-up. This is all connected to the massive, just staggering death numbers in the senior citizens' homes. And at the very heart of it, at the very heart of what's going on here, folks, is you've got a criminal conspiracy to hide and cover up the government records. This is the problem. In New York, when they commit their crimes like what Cuomo's caught up in the middle of now, they do away with the records. They hide the skullduggery, June Maxim. There's a woman upstate. Her and I don't get along at all. But one thing I agree with about June Maxim is the state of New York is great at skullduggery. Now, the Warren County Board of Supervisors and the town of Queensbury and the town of Kingsbury, well, I think they're part of the Warren County greater metropolitan area. The towns all the way down to Fort Edward, Fort Anne, all the way up to Bolton, Warrensburg, on up Lake George, up to where Essex County begins and over to where Washington County begins. All of the state government actors with the health department at Raybrook and the health department at Glens Falls, good old Glens Falls, they're involved in this nursing home fiasco because you see these infectious COVID patients were put in these senior citizens' homes all over the state by people that were following Andy Cuomo's orders. Folks, you've got lots of Democrats calling for Andy Cuomo's head, but it's not just Andy Cuomo. And you got a lot of Republicans asking for Andy Cuomo's head. But it's not just Democrats. It's not just Andy Cuomo. It's the whole stinking mafia-controlled and mafia-run state. Folks, when you use the river systems to flush huge amounts of infectious human waste and vast amounts of other deadly industrial chemicals and industrial wastes, and then you hide it, Elise Stefanik, and I'm speaking directly to your Glens Falls office, Elise Stefanik, the hiding of the records, the refusal to obey the FOIA laws, The refusal to obey the Freedom of Information Act laws, because a lot of the federal Freedom of Information laws also apply to New York State agencies. Now, the Justice Department, apparently the FBI, is involved in an investigation of huge numbers of deaths in nursing homes in 4 states. That's fine. But I got a message for the New York State New York State Attorney General's office, Letitia James, and the U.S. Justice Department. The hiding of records in New York is the status quo. This is how they run their criminal government. It goes so far beyond the nursing home fiasco, it's not even funny. The nursing home fiasco is just the tip of an iceberg. Now, to my friends with Red Dot Digital there, and Patrick Lovell and Eric Vaughn and Steve Grubenbein, maybe we need to do a new Untouchables, the new Untouchables presentation of how in New York the government hides records. What do you think, Patrick Lovell? You know the money that's being made off the orchestration and the operation and the exploitation of senior citizens in New York through the senior citizens' homes that were subject to this death order, the death order of CUOMO. Stick a bunch of deadly infectious patients in with grandpa and grandma. I mean, you talk about freaking being victimized right out of your life. That's called murder, Patrick Lovell. It's called criminally negligent homicide. At very least, it was criminally negligent homicide. So, Elise Stefanik, I want you to maybe pick up the phone and call Judge Myers, United States District Judge Myers, down in Wilmington, North Carolina, and ask him why it is that the federal courts are trying to overlook the fact that New York State hides records and refuses to obey open records laws, and discovery in the Witham case against New York State has been completely blocked with lies about the state not doing huge amounts of business in North Carolina. The state of New York does vast amounts of business in North Carolina, and I, Judson Witham, have proven that way beyond belief. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of business trips into North Carolina by state officials, the health department, DEC, you name it. They love to go to North Carolina, you know, particularly in the fall, particularly in the spring, and go to the mountains and go play golf. Oh, they love playing golf up in those mountain high golf courses and those ultra luxurious resorts in the Smoky Mountains. Down around Asheville, they love going to Asheville, man. I mean, that's where they love to have their secret meetings with their corporate buddies and pals. But in any event, Elise Stefanik, apparently former Governor Pataki thinks that Cuomo needs to be impeached or at least prosecuted, or, you know, it's a stinking rotten shame that New York State keeps secret environmental conservation records on the flushing, not only of huge amounts of sewage and waterways, not only huge amounts of toxic industrial waste being flushed all over New York State, but they dump stuff in the air that's like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. They use the atmosphere in New York State for a giant toxic sewer. Elise Stefanik. That's why Glens Falls has the worst cancer rates in the whole state. And by the way, Elise Stefanik, I started asking a lot of questions up at the Lake George High School many years ago, and I started raising hell about all this toxic industrial waste being dumped in the air and toxic industrial waste being dumped in the water and in the watershed and in the groundwater, which essentially triggered the investigation into the cancer rates. So it's not just the nursing home fiasco where state has kept secret records. It's the massive poisoning of the state where they're keeping secret records. You see, the COVID is coming from the waterways. The COVID's being spread by the sewage. The COVID's being spread by the air. Stand 6 feet away and wear a mask. If you think the COVID virus in the air is what's killing New Yorkers, look at the toxic chemicals being dumped in Glens Falls, for instance, Elise Stefanik, by both Glens Falls banks, the Glens Falls First National and the Glens Falls National. Arrow Financial Corporation of Bartlett, Pontiff, Stewart, and Rhodes. Yes, Elise Stefanik, I'm from Glens Falls. Isn't that amazing? And I grew up on Lake George. And this hiding of records in New York, this mega scandal of the hiding of records in New York, well, it's outed. They're caught. They're exposed. And the Environmental Conservation Department at Raybrook, the Lake George Park Commission, the Fund for Lake George, the Darren Freshwater Institute, the smartest lake in the world. What a joke. The only reason the smartest lake in the world is smart at all is they flush it to dilute the pollution from 6,000 septic tanks that are draining into Lake George, into the biggest tourist trap in the state. Huge amounts of sewage. They call it nitrates and phosphates. But these nitrates and phosphates are massively contaminated with viruses and bacteria. Eric Sly in Bolton Landing at the RPI University's Darren Freshwater Institute. Now, David Wick with the Lake George Park Commission knows damn well that hiding government records, this isn't just about nursing homes. No. This criminal conspiracy at the highest levels of state government, Elise Stefanik, reaches into environmental conservation and their flushing of toxins into the air and toxins into the water. Now, the Clean Air Action Network in Glens Falls, New York, Tracy Frisch, I think is her last name, Tracy Frisch. Come on down, because there's a lot of people like Kathy Bozzoni and Ellen Apperson Brown and the entire Warren County Sheriff's Office. The Warren County Sheriff's Office. They know about the nursing homes, and they know about the flushing of all these toxins into the air and water in New York. Just ask Sheriff James LaFar, my old buddy Sheriff James LaFar. Ask him if he realizes they keep secret records in New York. So Elise Stefanik and Judge Myers and Governor Pataki, Judge Myers and Fox News, and Judge Myers and huge numbers of Republicans and Democrats in New York State. Well, they need to, pick up the phone and call Judge Myers down in Wilmington, North Carolina, and say, Judge Myers, the state of New York secrets and hides records and refuses to obey FOIA laws. Judge Myers, they keep secrets in New York, and they lie, and they cheat, and they steal. And Judge Myers, they kill. They kill people. They kill people. They steal their businesses. They wipe out their marinas. Judge Myers, they wipe out their marinas with their flushing operations. So there you have it, Judge Myers. You want to sanction somebody, Judge Myers? Perhaps we should be sanctioning the state of New York, the guilty parties. Elise Stefanik, we will be seeing you. And Judge Kimberly O'Connor, we will be seeing you. And State Attorney General Letitia James, you betcha we'll be seeing you. And the Department of Justice, FBI in Albany, it's jigs up time. The jig's up. Because Cuomo's hiding a lot more records than just this nursing home murder spree. It's a murder spree. I mean, there's no other way to, you can't call it anything else. It's criminally negligent homicide. A murder spree. Ladies and gentlemen, open up all the state records in New York, because this freaking debacle, this criminal debacle, goes so far past the nursing homes. It's staggering, ladies and gentlemen. All the links and information you need are below. And as you know, you can call Patrick Lovell, and you can call Eric Vaughn and Steve Grubenbein and Adam Bronfman and the whole crew over at Red Point Digital, Red Dot Digital, whatever they call themselves over there. And let's get to the bottom of it. The new untouchables are on the prowl.